Bum bum ba bum 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 bum.
Welcome to a special episode of Potter Watch. We will be discussing the latest installment of the Harry Potter series, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. I'm Molly.
And I'm Alex.
And this is Potter Watch. All right, so should we just jump into our first thoughts?
Yeah, first impressions. Okay, so
I really liked it.
Oh yeah, I really liked it. Oh, sorry, you said first impressions, and I was like, the beginning. So how did you feel seeing the WB logo and
Oh my gosh, the music,
music.
Hedwig's theme song. I was just like, yes.
It's embarrassing. I was like ready to cry, like in that moment. Like I didn't. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
No,
it just
it was
felt like
that
coming
nostalgia.
home.
It just like felt good to like listen and hear, and I loved. In general, I loved how it felt very much a part of that world, but it didn't feel like
Yeah.
it was out of place or like it was mimicking, because like that's how Cursed Child kind of felt like reading it. It was like it's part of the world, but it doesn't feel right. This was like definitely part of the world, but like very much its own thing.
Yeah, like it's like it was literally the different world. It was America, and it was a different time. And I think obviously having David Yates direct it,
Exactly. And her writing it.
created that aesthetic visually. Like when we open up, and after the little Grindelwald bit, and we
Which
see,
I didn't really follow all of that.
I didn't like the
honestly.
Grindelwald bit in the beginning, but I'm gonna pretend that it starts with
The
newspapers.
Loved that.
I was like, yes, we're back. David Yates, thank you again. I also thought it was just such a good way to open up the world.
Yeah.
You see, and then the things that come back later, like the giggle water and
the Niffler, which we never even saw in the original movies, but they mention it in
the books. Yeah. And don't Harry and Ron have to like walk one or something to get gold
They do it in Care of Magical Creatures.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. But
and Ron's one because it was a fat one.
But yeah, I loved it. And
Yeah.
I felt like that throughout the whole movie. Like from the beginning I was like, okay, I'm coming home, like this is really good.
Yeah, I really liked it. The only thing I didn't like, or it just seemed weird, was the beginning when they were trying to show the whole world. It was going really fast and it was blurry and I just couldn't see everything, and I wanted to see like all of the Congress and all of the New York from his perspective, and it was just like the frames per second was like too fast for me to really see everything. But I also saw it just regular. Did you see it in 3D?
The first time I saw it twice. The first time I saw it in 3D, which I'm not a huge fan of 3D.
Same, that's why
I don't like it, but it was the timing. The person that I went with, we had a specific time we had to see it, and the only thing available was 3D. But honestly, it wasn't bad because Fantastic Beasts doesn't really utilize 3D very well. It's
Oh, really?
Kind of
Because
a
it
waste
seemed kind of like
of
it would
money.
be cool to see in 3D.
It was just like the things that you would expect to be in 3D, where
Yeah.
like sometimes an animal would come out, but it like almost.
Yeah. I bet the newspaper thing was cool in 3D.
It didn't
Oh,
really
really?
do anything with that.
Oh. Well, I mean, yeah.
Which was better for me because I
Right.
don't like 3D.
Yeah,
it gives me a headache.
It gives me a headache and it like distracts me, like having the glasses on and stuff.
Yeah,
So
especially because I wear glasses, so I'm wearing glasses
Same.
on top of glasses.
yeah. So just kind of first thoughts. I loved Eddie Redmayne. I thought he was great. The only thing I didn't like,
Don't talk about my baby.
he does this weird thing with his neck, and he kind of like does a lot of like talking out of the side of his mouth, and I know he's like supposed to be shy and stuff like that, but it really bothers me, and it was like very distracting. It was really only in the beginning when we first see him like on the boat and like in the bank was like the only time I was like, oh, what is he doing? I don't like it.
I disagree. I think it was such a good choice. It was awkward and it was distracting, but I think he's supposed to make you feel
Because
uncomfortable.
he's supposed to be awkward.
Yeah, he doesn't, and this was one of like such great character development that he didn't have any friends in Hogwarts,
Right.
except for Letta or
Lestrange.
Lena Lestrange, and then you get that he just works with these animals all the time, so he's
Know
not
how
good
to
with
be with people.
people.
That's a
And
good point.
He averts eye contact.
I definitely noticed that.
Yeah, and which is, if you're like with animals a lot, you can't look them in the eye because it's a sign
Right.
of a threat. And I just thought he did such good. I'm sure like J.K. Rowling had like notes about it, but he just did overall, I think, really
Right.
good.
I think he was
character
supposed to come off like a little bit more pretentious, but he's so nice.
Yeah.
He wasn't that much of an asshole, and I think like he kind of alluded to that he's supposed to be. He's like, a lot of people don't like me.
But see, I think he's just supposed to be like
Awkward.
uncomfortable
Maybe that's
to
it.
be around.
Because
like,
I could see his character being pretentious
Yeah.
about or just in general, because he just talks about what he knows, not really thinking about
Yeah.
how people perceive him. But he's just such a likable person that I automatically liked him. It was just some of the things he said that made me think maybe he was supposed to be a little bit unlikable and not just uncomfortable.
yeah.
Maybe.
No, I agree with that. He did have his little cheeky bit, which I'm sure we'll talk about later, with the houses. When she was like, "Oh yeah, Ilvermorny, the best wizarding school there is," and he's like,
Actually, I think that's Hogwarts.
Hogwash.
Yes.
But
But my biggest fan, or I was the biggest fan of this character in the show, was Jacob.
I love
Mr.
Jacob.
Kowalski.
Are we going into characters? We can talk about characters.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about characters?
Oh, Jacob. Ugh. Everything about him. And he was so good. And J.K. Rowling does this so well in the Harry Potter books too, because that's why Harry had to not grow up in the Muggle world.
Right.
So that we
He had to grow up in
He had to grow up in the Muggle world so that we had somebody to, like, go experience it with us. And then for this movie,
it was through Jacob's eyes.
Through Jacob, and Jacob, just this little baker cinnamon roll of a person.
I love him. Oh my gosh. Loved it. We'll talk about him more, I'm sure, as we go along.
He's also the first nomad that we, like, main character.
Exactly.
Or Muggle main character.
Right. So that's a whole thing. Terminology is a little bit different. What do you think about them not using the word Muggle?
I think that makes sense, because it's sort of like it's a not nickname, but it's one of
slang.
It's slang. It's one of those things like
I guess it's slang.
Like they use plaster, and we in America use Band-Aid.
Aluminium versus aluminum. Although that's a little different.
It's like just they're different. I think that's and
I think it made sense.
It makes sense. I also I have a little in my notes. I have a little section of just things that are so classic America. Like they have Muggle and we have no magic. We're like, yeah, they just don't have magic. Like,
we're very clever.
Not creative at all.
America looks real bad in this movie,
but it's so real.
It's real. And I'm not like upset about it, but we look real bad.
Oh, agreed. Let's talk about how Wizarding America 100% has the death penalty.
Outdated laws in general.
Yeah, no.
I want to get to the death penalty, but let's talk about characters.
Oh, sorry.
No, I think I do want to talk about it, but let's talk a little bit more about characters. So what was your favorite character?
I loved Queenie.
She was so great.
She was wonderful, and mostly I loved, as a separate character, the Queenie-Jacob relationship.
Yes.
I shipped that so hard, and I just thought it was so lovely. But I just liked her strength and femininity, which I think J.K. Rowling
doesn't always show.
Yeah, and
like Hermione wasn't very feminine, but she was a strong character and
Jenny's not really feminine. Luna's not really feminine.
Maybe Luna more than
Luna's
the rest.
like most like Queenie, and so it's like Luna marrying Newt's grandson.
Know. It makes so much sense, I'm assuming. I mean, not knowing.
Not that we're exactly like our parents, but
or grandparents. But so one thing, I had a question about Queenie's power, because she's like a Legilimens, but we've never heard of Legilimens referred to as like a specific power, like seer, which is kind of how I took it. It's like she's like a seer, but she's a Legilimens.
I think it's because it's a very rare power. It's something like...
But I never saw it as a power. I thought it was like a learned thing. Like Malfoy learns it. Voldemort kind of learns it, and he uses it.
I think it's Snape and Malfoy, like, they had to learn it, but Voldemort and Queenie were like born doing it. Because even when you're meeting Voldemort as a little kid, he like knows things about those people. Like he can read the minds of like his fellow.
That's true. That's a good
kids.
point. Yeah,
I think it's
so it can be learned. Yeah, kind of like divination can kind of be learned.
Right, but you're if you're good at it, you're good at it.
Yeah.
And I love that she's so good at it.
I know. And then I thought it was funny that she couldn't really read British as
she was
well.
like, it's the accent.
I know, I love it.
JK.
Like, it doesn't really make sense, but I love it.
I love it.
I wanted to talk about that because I was kind of wondering, that seemed not consistent, but it does kind of now after talking about it.
I thought about that too, because at first when they said legitimate, or when they introduced her power, I was like, oh, she's a seer, which makes no sense, but that's how my head interpreted it. And then I was like, oh, Alex, get it together.
So what did you think of Tina, though? Because I wasn't a huge fan of her character. Even though she's supposed to be, like, the main heroine, I didn't find her that likable, personally.
I liked Tina because she reminded me a lot of I was gonna say Hermione, but like in a different way, in that her flaws, I think when you first meet her, make her almost a little bit unlikable. Like Hermione can be really like tattletale and annoying, but I think throughout the series I'm gonna grow to really love Tina, which is why I'm like,
I hope that she grows on me, because I found her kind of weak, and not just because she like told on him or whatever, but I didn't think that she was that strong, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I don't think all characters need to be like strong, forceful people, but like she seemed not even that comfortable with magic. Like she was very, I don't know, just very cautious the whole time.
Which is what I think it's important. I think they're also trying to draw parallels between her and Newt, where she's also a isolated person. She's not a very likable person around other people.
Yeah.
But I also think she's so weird about magic because she just lost her job and she used to be an American Auror, which America's politics are not great. Like if we're going to talk about the parallels between British cops and Aurors versus like what American cops are like versus what American,
like telling people, like it seemed like weird laws that she was like focusing on too. I was like, that doesn't seem, I don't know, like it doesn't, like I feel like British Aurors don't worry about that. That's what the magical law enforcement is for. Like they have different,
which is true, because I think we have different, you know, the way we do things is different. And also the penalties for things were so intense in America.
Well, I think also has to do with, it was Colin Farrell, aka Grindelwald, that sentenced them because he didn't want them getting involved. So I don't know if that would have been like the normal punishment, but I think he was trying to get rid of them.
Yeah, that's
also
true.
Which, do you want to talk about him yet, or do you want to wait?
Do you mean Graves as a character or
all of it?
Yeah, sure. We can talk about Graves
and
Grindelwald.
So I loved Colin Farrell in it. I thought he was so great.
Same, and it honestly, it's such a huge disappointment for me because I think he would have been a better Grindelwald.
He should have just been Grindelwald. I mean, I haven't seen Johnny Depp really play it yet. He just did that thing at the end, but I don't want Johnny Depp being Johnny Depp in it. I used to really like Johnny Depp. I like him in his older stuff. I don't like Johnny Depp when he does huge characters.
He's doing you can already tell he's doing a weird accent, which isn't necessary.
Right.
He's doing that weird face thing that he does, which
he's doing it over the top.
It felt like Sweeney Todd. It felt like he was about to play it like he did Sweeney Todd,
exactly.
which is a completely
which
different
is fine
tone.
For Sweeney Todd because it's a musical and it's supposed to be over the top.
It's like a dark comedy, but it's like, this is not a dark.
Well, comedy is a strong word.
But like Sweeney Todd in its original form is supposed to like be funny,
right?
But I'm like, okay, but.
I know what you mean.
He did such a
Colin Farrell's so
good at being sinister and like this likable,
but not sure if he was supposed to be, like, in the beginning I wasn't sure if he was supposed to be good or not.
I liked him in the beginning.
I noticed. So when did you notice?
I have that question for you too.
I noticed when he was interviewing them and I saw the Deathly Hallows symbol in his pocket. Did you see that?
Oh, I did not see that either time.
I saw it when he was doing the interview with Newt. I saw, and maybe even a little bit before, I was like, I think that's the Deathly Hallows symbol. But I just thought he was a follower.
Same. Oh, I thought you meant when you knew he was Grindelwald.
Oh, I probably didn't know he was Grindelwald till like the very end.
Like me too.
But I knew he was a follower from probably the midway point when I saw that little symbol. And then when he gave it to Credence, it was like, oh, duh. But I saw it before he gave it to Credence.
I knew it. I knew it before he gave it to Credence too, and I think it was around the interview. It's whenever he brings out the Obscurus.
Yeah.
And Newt's like, but why would you want to use it?
Right.
I was like,
Yeah,
you're a
that was-
Grindelwald follower.
Well, I think seen it right before that, probably.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did notice the little symbol, and I pointed to my boyfriend next to me. I was like, that's the Deathly Hallows symbol.
Well, I went and saw it with our friend Ben. And Ben and I were like whisper talking through the whole thing, and we were both uncomfortably attracted to him.
Well,
which
yeah, it's Colin Farrell.
right, but like even like his like evilness, we were like
I
it's
know.
uncomfortable. So that's
But
the
I think
one.
that's how Grindelwald is supposed to be.
Right, which
but
I'm
Johnny
not
Depp
attracted
is
to
not.
Johnny
and
Depp.
He's too pale.
And that Ben called it Pidgeotto hair.
I've never heard of that.
It's a Pokemon thing.
Oh, well, I wouldn't know.
But it's like he's got like this blonde.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Anybody who knows Pokemon, the Pidgeotto hair. It's not a fan. I'm not a fan.
Okay, and so my other question about Colin Farrell, well, I keep calling him that, Graves, was how was he imitating Graves? Like, was Graves already a character? Was he using Polyjuice? Or what, did he make up that person and then get a job? With, like, how long has this ruse been going on? Like, that's what I wanted to know.
Yeah, I wondered how long the ruse had been going on, too, because he seemed very set in his position.
Right, so I think maybe he was imitating Graves. Like, Graves was already a person.
I think that's true. Graves is a person
Kind of like
in the
Mad-Eye
magical
Moody thing.
world because he has, like, ancestry, like,
Oh, okay.
from previous
Yeah.
things in the Harry Potter universe.
So I kind of hope that the real Graves isn't dead and we get more Colin Farrell. Like, I hope he was just, like, keeping him, like, in the trunk or something.
I guess.
Mad-Eye
but
Moody
I'm
style.
so upset.
I know.
Because he was so good as Grindelwald. Like,
I know.
and their chemistry, like, not chemistry as in romantically,
but just with the other characters.
especially with, what's his name, Credence.
Yeah.
It was so palpable.
Because he, was enamored by him, but also, like, wanted it. Like, it was so interesting.
It was so, the actors that did that did such a good job, and the writing of their relationship was just,
Definitely. So do you want to talk about Credence now?
Yeah. I loved Credence as a character. It was really sad. It brought me back to my Harry abuse years, except obviously worse.
Way worse.
Yeah. And I just cinematography wise loved every time you were with that family or that group
Ooh,
and
it
the
was
little
so
singing girl. It
spooky.
was so I was here for all of it. That whole aesthetic. I was like, this is such a good way to frame these characters. And it's reminded me of how, we're reading the first book now in the podcast. And it reminds me of how she sets up characters and families in the books too.
It's important to know where they come from.
Which is, it's a hard thing to do, to go from, like, novelist to screenwriter.
Yeah, because you don't get to do all that background narration.
Mm-hmm. And I think she did such a good, and clearly some of this is the director, and she said she worked very close with David and with her executive producer, who was the executive producer for all the other Harry Potter films. But it was just so well done.
So I am assuming Credence is still alive.
Oh, definitely.
Okay.
Did you see?
Yes.
The black floaty
and
thing?
they hovered on it for way too long.
Oh, yeah. He's definitely coming back, which I'm so excited for. I hope he doesn't join forces with Grindelwald.
Yeah, but I also think that it's more interesting. Him as a bad guy, kind of like Draco Malfoy was with Voldemort, but you still were rooting for him in some ways.
Yeah, I see him as I don't want him to go with Grindelwald. I can see him being an antagonist,
Okay.
but I want him to be his own
Separate.
thing. And I want him to, I don't know, I have this, like, story in my mind that's never going to happen where I want him to, like, find
his lineage
or Ilvermorny, he could be our introduction to it,
Maybe.
Find people his age.
But he's also like too old. Like, what would be the precedence for starting school?
Not starting school,
okay.
but just like ending up in a place where he's surrounded by wizards
People
his
his own
age. That's honestly just because I want to get more of the American.
What did you think of possibly his parallel to the Gaunt family. Because I was reading some things, like some articles after I saw the movie, and I just saw one that said something about, like, he seemed kind of like a Gaunt because of how he looked. Like, he just kind of looked like Voldemort almost, or just maybe somehow related to them. I don't know. I mean, I know that he's American, but we don't know who his lineage is or anything like
his mom.
that.
Yeah, I think that.
I don't know. I
think that's got to be something important, who his parents are.
I do too.
Or his mom is. I think it's only, like, you know, that seems, and then that parallel is also, right, like leaving a baby at an orphanage and a mom, like you know,
right, exactly.
It's a really strong parallel.
Although the mother or whoever, I forget her name, Mary something.
Mary Sue.
Yeah, like she seemed to know that his mom was actually a witch.
Yeah.
So how did she know that? Or is she like a Petunia where it was like her sister or something? Or something like that.
Mary Sue was scary.
She was really scary.
But I also can see how being exposed to magic, like if you're already like a prejudiced person, like predisposed to be like that,
exactly,
and then you're in, because magic would be scary, I think, coming from an outside point of view,
right? And especially like if you don't know about it. It's not like, I don't actually think she's a family member, because I think she's so out of it, she doesn't know, and she sees things that scare her, and she just lashes out because that's the kind of person she is. Like, she's a bad person, plus she's scared.
Yes.
Kind of like how Umbridge is with like non-mad, or
right, with the
like creatures or half-breeds,
giants and stuff like that.
She doesn't understand, so she lashes out because she's already a bad person,
which, you know, never happens in real life.
Mm-hmm.
I also, the parallels with Credence to Ariana.
Yes, I wanted to talk about that
with the Obscurus.
Definitely connection.
Such a good foreshadow for the ending Grindelwald Dumbledore fight that Ariana like gets caught in the middle of, like, this whole thing.
I know,
with
it's
Credence.
sad to think, and she also is older. She's 14, which is also a long time for someone who's an Obscurus to live, which is interesting. But so this is after Ariana.
He's
already met Dumbledore and left him.
Right. You're right. You're totally right. It's when they're kids. Oh, now I'm sad because in my head I was thinking that
which is why I think he understands what Obscurus are, because he knew Ariana, Grindelwald. Yes. He knew what he was looking for. I think. That's what I think.
But Ariana, but then he would know that they could last longer.
Well, but I still think.
But he's not the one that keeps saying that. It's
Well, he thinks it's the little girl.
Right, but I think that's because he spent so much time with Credence that
he's
does.
Like, I smelled squib on you.
I was like, oh boy.
But, okay, so when did you know that Credence was actually magical? Because I thought it from the beginning, and then I was like, well, maybe he's not. Maybe it is the little one. And I really was, like, not sure.
I thought Credence had magic the whole time, but I thought the girl was the Obscurus until the end.
I thought all of the people with Mary Sue were magical.
Yeah, I thought I had that theory too. I didn't carry it out.
Right,
in my
I
head.
didn't. Yeah, it was like, this was like while watching, I was trying to guess what was going to happen next.
But that one girl, that one actress, you know, the one that was always with Mary Sue and the little one and him, I was like, she's such an interesting face. She's the face of a witch. She must be important. But no, I think it was just a red.
So one thing I was wondering was, do you think that Grindelwald considered Horcruxes?
I don't think so, only because I think what makes Grindelwald such an interesting villain, Voldemort was too, but I think his is for the greater good. I don't think he cares about being in power or even that it's him. Right. I think he really believes in his cause.
And I think Voldemort was definitely more afraid of death, and I don't think Grindelwald is.
No, I think Grindelwald is focused on, he can die happy if he knows that
he just wants wizards to be out in the open.
Right.
But he just does it in a sinister way. All right. So one other character I wanted to talk about was the American president.
Loved it.
because I thought she wasn't a good president.
Oh, no, she's not a good president. She's not a good person, but I think her concept is really interesting. Like, we're never going to get a discussion on this because J.K. Rowling sort of keeps the magical world and their prejudices separate from the
What's
Muggle
going on in the real world.
But I think from her perspective, what is it like in your magical world for you to be a Black woman and being the president
And a female.
That's what I say, Black woman.
Oh, yeah.
And to be the president of all of magical America, and then you don't even have the right to vote, like, in the Muggle world. Like, what is that
So
like?
true. Oh my gosh. I wasn't even thinking about that in, like, the time that this was taking place. That is so fascinating. Yeah, I loved that she was, like, a Black woman playing this part, but I didn't like how bad she was at her job.
Well, yeah.
I mean, but that was just kind of a symbolic
There's
of America.
also, like, an the American government, of the American magical government thing going on, which I don't necessarily hate. I think there was also a lot of ministry hate going on in the Harry Potter books. I think there's
it's always mistrust the government.
Yeah.
Which I think definitely was carried on through here. I mean, she wasn't as bad as Fudge. Definitely.
No. And I also think she had to make a lot of tough decisions in this one.
Yeah, I liked how tough she was. I loved that.
Yeah. And she held to them. Like, it's when you're exposed to something this unknown in that world. Like, they don't know about Obscuruses, really. She has no real experience
and she's
with
young.
that. Yeah.
But I definitely think she looked like Holly Berry. I thought it was her. But yeah, I thought that was interesting because, like, at the end, she had no plan. If Newt hadn't come in to be like, "Oh, I've got this great,
I've got it. Thank you for putting me in jail and trying to kill me, but I got it."
Yeah. So I thought that was interesting. But yeah, do you want to talk about the death penalty now, or were you going to bring up something else?
I have one thing to bring up while we're on the topic of her, and then we can go to death penalty because, excuse me, with this whitewashing crap.
They made her look so light.
Like, she's I think she's just a light-skinned woman in general, but, like, this one light-skinned woman lead as your cultural representation is, like, not working for me anymore, J.K. Rowling. Like, get it together. Really.
And, like, only one character can be Black.
And that one woman who was, like, working in
Black.
It was just so whitewashed. I was sitting here like, okay, we're in New York City in the Jazz Age. There's no way. Like, even in the extras, there wasn't.
And in the magical community, like, that doesn't seem to be an issue or anything. President.
So I was just so confused, and I kept asking myself, why none of our main characters, like, our mains, like, no more Dean Thomases, no more Seraphinas. Like, please why couldn't those sisters have been Black? Like, or, like, Indian or Hispanic,
it was like, oh, well, we'll do one character and that's enough. But
yeah, or so much, and I know she's getting a lot of crap for this, but so much of the American Hogwarts magical lineage is Native American.
Right.
So why couldn't she have two Native sisters be your lead in this? It just would have
been so easy. And, like, not over the top. It could have just been a very subtle thing. Like, it doesn't have to be about race, but you can include race in a very inclusive way.
It was their chance to redo it, because that's one of my biggest flaws with the main series. And I think and their excuse is like, oh, there's not a lot in Scotland, whatever. I was like, okay, I'll buy it. That excuse does not work for America.
Exactly.
It doesn't work specifically for America in New York City.
In New York City, yeah. If you were, in Chicago, maybe, I don't know.
I don't know. If you were in, like,
I don't know what Chicago was like in the 20s, but I totally agree with you.
And one more thing about characters.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you want to quickly try to house Ilvermorny house? I wrote down
okay, yeah, because I don't remember everything about the houses.
I didn't remember either. I had to look it up, but I thought that would be a fun thing to do. The Thunderbird. So just overall, in J.K. Rowling's mind, the Ilvermorny houses are said to represent the different parts of the ideal witch or wizard.
Okay.
So for the Thunderbird, it's the soul. So they value adventure. J.K. Rowling has said she is the Thunderbird, and it's also what I got when I took the...
I was just going to say it sounds like you.
It's what I got when I took the quiz, but I'm not accepting any house until I know more about them.
True.
Like, I can't identify myself with that one fully until I at least maybe know characters from Fantastic Beasts that were, so I can see if I align there. Horned Serpent, it favors the mind and is scholars. So, which I think is interesting because I think you hear Horned Serpent and you think, oh, it's
Slytherin.
the Slytherin equivalent, but it's definitely more of the Ravenclaw.
I think I might have gotten Horned Serpent, or actually I might have gotten the next one.
Pugwudgie.
Yeah, I can't remember now.
Is the heart, favors healers.
Kind of like Hufflepuff, if you wanted to equate them, which I know they don't really equal each other.
Because this one, Wampus, the body, and favors warriors.
Right.
I think that's like another, you would think like Gryffindor-y one, but I don't think they work like that.
Yeah, exactly. I think Thunderbird and Wampus don't really have an equivalent, or they both are kind of Gryffindor-esque.
Yeah, and I also think Horned Serpent and Wampus go along with that Slytherin-y quality.
True. Yeah, I want to say I was Horned Serpent. I was like, I'm not a Slytherin. And then I think I was reading about it, and I was like, that actually makes sense. So yeah, let's talk about the characters. I mean, I know Newt was a Hufflepuff.
Newt's a Hufflepuff, which is amazing. I'm so glad we get a great Hufflepuff
and his
character.
Yellow scarf, because he never actually said he was a Hufflepuff.
I know, but you can actually see it at the beginning of the movie when he opens up his trunk. It's just sitting there, and I'm like, I actually was very proud, like happy for Hufflepuffs that they got this, because he's also such a good character.
I know. Yeah, my boyfriend went to see it with me, and he wore his Hufflepuff shirt to the movie because he's a proud Hufflepuff.
It was so good.
Yes.
Hufflepuff representation. A blogger on YouTube I was watching talk about it. She was like, "Now we need a good Ravenclaw main." She was like,
although we did get
Luna.
more, I think
we got more than Hufflepuff. Like, come on, Hannah Abbott, Ernie Macmillan. These cannot.
Although Cedric Diggory.
Cedric is a good one, if you don't read Cursed Child.
True. Okay, so
let's start with Tina.
Oh yeah, Newt. Okay. Yeah, I actually think he's more adventure, like with the animals and things like that. So I would say Thunderbird for Newt.
I'm between Thunderbird and Pugwudgie because I think so much of him is his heart, like his caring for these animals.
Right.
But I could see either one.
Because I think he's very much for the sense of adventure. Like, he talks about how he's been, for the past year, he's been where, and, like, he was in Africa. So he, like, does these adventures for the animals, but I think it's kind of that pull to do that kind of thing. Because he could just love animals, kind of like Hagrid is very caring towards animals, but he doesn't have the adventure side as much, I don't think.
That's true. But I also think his love for them is what drives him.
I do, too.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, I could see it either way.
Okay, we'll do Thunderbird. Jacob,
definitely a Pugwudgie.
Yeah, the cutest little
heart.
Pugwudgie.
Oh my gosh, he's so cute. But he was down for adventure. I will say that.
Oh my gosh.
I loved how he didn't accept it like so easily. But I liked that he was so accepting.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, oh, I believe it automatically.
But yeah, he was like rightfully so freaked out after the first like pulling. But I think, he's like a lot of us think of ourselves would be like if a magical person came into our lives, the Harry Potter fans.
Right.
It'd be like, okay, this was like scary at first, but I'd totally go on a magical adventure with you.
And I loved all the magic in their apartment. I loved that. Just seeing that because even though we did see all the movies at Hogwarts, we don't see that much magic by adults who just use it every day. Like, you see it a little bit in the Weasleys.
Yeah.
And it's really only in the second book that you see it, when they're, like, washing the dishes and things like that.
Making the strudel.
Yes. I wish I could cook like that.
I know. I would flick my wand. And
yeah, so she was great. Queenie. So let's talk about Queenie.
I think Queenie is also a Pugwudgie, but I could also...
She's so, like, loving.
Yeah, she's got to be Pugwudgie. I can't see...
I almost thought Horned Serpent, but...
I don't think she's much of a scholar.
That's true. I don't mean scholar, but like she's kind of wise, but because she understands people, because she can read people.
Yeah, but she
that
also
kind of goes
seems
more
to
with
like
heart.
read people's
Emotions.
emotions. She like feels for
Right.
people. Like,
And she's wise about emotions, I think.
Mhm.
And I think she's very good at magic too.
Yes.
I just think you're right. I think it's Pugwudgie for sure. Her
look
and
at
Jacob.
her and Jacob, little Pugwudgie couple.
Right.
Stop.
Now, do you think that siblings like the Weasleys are all sort of in the same house? Like,
See, that I was wondering about that. I was like, I wonder if it has the same kind of mythos in America.
right. I mean, I know obviously not all the Blacks, the Patil twins, they weren't in the same house, but they're also very close.
But these two sisters also seem opposite on purpose.
They're opposite, definitely. So I'd say they're not in the same house, but usually I feel like when siblings aren't in the same house, they're not very close. That's kind of how it seemed in Hogwarts.
But they also were
although
orphaned.
the Patil twins were close.
They were orphaned, so I also think that makes them closer.
True.
Like, they're that kind of opposites, but like we had to love each other because
Right.
like I don't think
And
they...
maybe when they were older, they got closer.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that Tina is a horned serpent. The mind and favors scholars.
Yeah. I'm between Horned Serpent and Wampus.
The warrior?
Yeah.
Why do you think warrior?
Because I think she, even though we were talking about how like she turns him in and stuff like that, I think she is a fighter. I think she fights for what she believed in. Like, she lost her job because she attacked Mary Sue.
I don't think that makes her a warrior, though. Like, I think that's more like a heart thing. Like, she does what she believes is right, but I don't think her instinct is to fight. I think her instinct is more to stand up for what she believes in.
Yeah.
Which isn't really...
Which I think is a different kind of battle. Like, I don't think warrior is necessarily, like, you're a violent or even... But, like, I can see that.
I would say Horned Serpent Pugwudgie mix, almost, because I think that her heart is very strong. But I would personally say Horned Serpent. Are you still leaning towards Wampus?
I just think...
We can disagree.
No. I'm undecided, honestly. Right. And I can't wait to figure out what they are.
I hope they tell us.
She could not tell us.
I know.
I would be really
mad. I wonder
mad.
if it's already, like, in their wikis. I haven't...
It's not.
Okay,
I checked.
You checked.
I think they're purposefully keeping it from
True.
us until at a later date.
True. Did you want to do any other characters?
What you think, Serafina?
The president?
Mm-hmm.
I would definitely say either a Wampus or a serpent, a horned serpent.
I'll put her in Wampus.
In Wampus, a warrior. Yeah, I think she's very strong and is ready for a fight, kind of. In what I was saying, Tina's really not in that same way. And I think the Graves that we see, not necessarily Grindelwald, but Graves, which I don't know if you can really differentiate them. I'm not sure how to deal with that.
I'm going to differentiate them because the two actors portraying them clearly have different takes on who this person is.
I would say Graves is also a warrior.
Yeah, I'm warrior or horned serpent.
Because he's
so about the
smart.
mind. But I also think...
Because he talks about building an army with the Obscurus, so that's a big thing.
See, I think Dumbledore would be a horned serpent if he went to America.
Definitely.
Which is why the houses don't really
equate. Right. Did you want to do any other characters first?
No.
Because I like the subtle mention of Dumbledore in the movie, and his relationship with Newt. But that makes me question, so why was Newt there? Because I don't think it was just to release the Thunderbird. Because he was very evasive when he talked about Dumbledore in that questioning. He was like, I guess he just liked me. Like, it almost seemed like he was maybe there to do something for Dumbledore.
But I also think it's been a long time since he was expelled. Because, like, he fought the war. Like, he wasn't a soldier in the war. He worked with the dragons, but I think he's supposed to be like 20s, 30s. Like, he's older. So
you don't think I think he still has a relationship with Dumbledore.
No, I think he still has a relationship with Dumbledore, but I don't know if it was Dumbledore sent him here.
Yeah,
or
I don't
maybe
know.
Dumbledore. I think the Dumbledore, like, in that scene, it could also be that I was focusing on Graves's reaction to Dumbledore.
Right.
And the second time when I knew officially that it was Grindelwald because of the
Grindelwald Dumbledore
relationship.
Right.
I was looking for that reaction, and it was, like, weird the second time.
Yeah,
through.
I
Like,
didn't
was
look
like,
at that.
Why
So
does Albus Dumbledore think you're so special?
interesting.
Like, it was, like, really interesting watching that back the second time through. I was just like...
Right, that is really interesting. He's, like, jealous almost.
Yeah, jealous and, like, intrigued by, like, what about you, this little person, made the great Albus Dumbledore?
Right. So you brought up him being expelled, which raises the question, why does he have a wand? Because they snap your wand when you're expelled. Unless
it's an older, like, that's something that was...
Or he was 17 at the time and they don't snap your wand if you're 17. Like,
it also doesn't say that he was actually expelled.
because Dumbledore, like...
It just says that you were in trials to be expelled, but I assumed he was expelled.
I thought that... It was kind of unclear, and, like, they said Dumbledore defended him, but Dumbledore would have just been starting out as a teacher then.
Maybe Dumbledore defended him enough that it was...
He got to keep
his wand.
Because I thought that was interesting.
Mm-hmm. That also could be like a flub.
Maybe, but that's kind of a big thing, I would think, because they make a big deal about it with Hagrid.
Yeah, and there's the parallels between Newt and Hagrid are
that's really true with the animals and everything. But I would say a smarter.
Oh, much smarter. Newt is just what
Hagrid.
I love about Newt is that he's just like a little bit careless. Like he's so in his mind with his animals that he's
that kind of brings me to my favorite part of the whole movie was them going into the suitcase for the very first time. Just so beautiful. I loved walking through that whole world inside that suitcase. I just thought it was so great and such a cool piece of magic and like everything about it. And I didn't know that was coming, and I just loved everything about that.
Me too. I love that we got this. I love that they spent so much time with it because other parts of the movie, like with the apparating, David Yates loves to apparate everywhere.
I know. And they were every time it looked like a Death Eater was disapparating.
Yeah.
With the black smoke, kind of, which I think was just
it's
how he did it, which was kind of cool, but it was different.
It's also like we're used to, I think, seeing a lot of teenagers use magic. And I was thinking about this, and it's like, it was really cool to see grown wizards doing magic because there's so much just like more practice. They're better at it.
Exactly. That's why I'm not as interested in seeing the American Hogwarts. What was it called again?
Ilvermorny.
I can't really say it. But I just like being in the wizarding world, which is some of my favorite parts of the Harry Potter series is when they're not at Hogwarts. I just love that look into the world. Like, I love that world building, and I think that this was all world building because it was a whole new world to us.
A whole new world. But yeah, the suitcase. And I like that we got to meet all of his little animals and his personal relationships with them. Like his little bit with his Bowtruckle.
Oh, love the Bowtruckle because that's another animal or a creature that's mentioned in the books, in the Harry Potter books, but we never actually see in the movie. So I loved all these new animals. Like they didn't do a hippogriff, which they could have easily done.
Yeah,
but we'd already seen that. I loved it.
So we got like
new.
the Thunderbird, and we got the. What was the one that flew out and then...
I don't know. I didn't really
one?
Keep track of the names of the animals.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you. But it was the one where they had to catch it in the teapot. Oh, that was another scene that I thought was really well done.
Really
where
good.
They were all like trying to catch the...
And it was kind of towards the end, and we kind of needed that, like, comic. Oh, the funniest part was the Arumpent with Jacob.
Little dance.
Oh my gosh, that was so funny. And that was another animal that was mentioned in the book.
Yeah, Luna's,
which they called a crumplehorn snorkag. But Hermione knew it was the Arumpent
horn,
right?
Yeah.
So
good.
Loved and it was Luna's.
Yeah.
I wonder if she now believes in Arumpents instead of crumplehorn snorkags. All right, so let's talk about this death sentence. because what the fuck?
That was the first time I cried. And it wasn't even like I knew they were gonna get out of it. Like I knew she wasn't gonna die, but I was just so overcome. I was like, America, what the fuck?
At first I was
man?
like, oh, is this just a punishment? Like they have to look at bad memories. But then I was like, no, they're going to murder them this way. And I was thinking, like, how does it work? Like, thoughts kill you? Like your own memories?
It's the memories. It's like
they lure you in, kind of.
It's like you're getting your last meal. It's so you're like at peace when you're dying. It's the memories like lure you in, and then that the water comes up and it like swallows you.
Yeah.
You like suffocate to death. But I think the pensieve in the water thing it's supposed to lure you into a sense
That's what I
of
thought
like
too.
comfort while you die.
But then I kind of thought about the fifth book and the idea of thoughts causing harm, like Ron with the brain. But Madame Pomfrey says some line, thoughts can sometimes leave more damage. The brain's tentacles like kind of like hurt him physically, and I was thinking like, do their own thoughts and their own memories,
but all of her
like
memories
overcome them? But it starts with the happy memories, and then she remembers like then she sees like the bad memories.
But I guess I associated the Credence thing with like she was like hugging Credence, like
that's true. It was like happy, but it was also kind of like a sad. I didn't know. It was very confusing because they didn't really explain what it was doing,
and it was creepy, and it was so white, like that room, all the white,
and it happened so soon. Like there was no trial, which isn't really, I think, consistent with American government, because that is one thing we do as a trial.
I think their trial was supposed to... Oh, you're right. There wasn't a trial.
It was just, he said, sentence them to death or whatever. And that's why I was like, they can't possibly be killing them.
Well, because wasn't it in front of like all of the councils of all those different magical places?
Well, no, she like barges in and says like,
oh, you're right.
I knew about it for 24 hours, but she didn't realize. But she tried to tell her. That was what bothered me.
I got so angry. I was like, she does not deserve to die. She tried to tell you and you were like, get out.
You didn't listen to her. She should have said that. She was like, I tried to tell you. So I just thought that was all very dark. I don't know if I liked that it was included. I kind of wish it hadn't been, or at least I wish it'd been explained more, because I really didn't understand it. And I don't know, it was very dark.
I liked it, and I think it fell in line with the tone of this movie.
And the government.
And the government's corruption. And it was just, it honestly, like being an American, I feel like I can say it felt like a very American way to handle
I think it was J.K. Rowling, kind of her thoughts on the death penalty. But I didn't like that they didn't have a trial, because I didn't think that was accurate.
No.
And it happened too soon. It happened too fast. And it again, I'm really caught up on the fact that it wasn't really explained, because it was a new thing to the viewer, and they didn't even come back and explain it later. Mm-hmm. And it was like, Newt even knew what it was. It seemed like he didn't have questions about it. So, and he's British, so what did he know about it?
Oh, that's true.
You know, like I really didn't know if it was maybe just like an old thing, and maybe Britain even had it as an old law too. I don't know.
Yeah.
I want to have some explanation on that.
Yeah.
One of my last notes is on Lestrange, so we get that little nugget of information.
There are so many little Easter eggs in here.
I loved all the Easter eggs.
I loved it so much.
Because they were subtle. It wasn't like the Dumbledore reference. It wasn't a big thing, which I think it will become a big thing. Like, they're going to have a young Dumbledore, I think, coming up.
We do get another light-skinned African-American female with Bellatrix Lestrange, is played by Zoe Kravitz in that little...
Not Bellatrix.
I mean, not Bellatrix. Leda, whatever her name was. I can't...
Yeah, Zoe Kravitz.
It's Zoe Kravitz, so we will see.
That'll be good.
Yeah.
But what do you think she's like? Do you think she's evil, or do you think she's kind of like... my guess right now where we are is that she's kind of like a Sirius Black, but she chooses the bad side. Like, she's kind of like where she's coming from a bad family and she could maybe be a good person, kind of, and then kind of chooses to like sink into the bad.
Not evil, but I think she's just not a very nice person. Like, I think she's more of like a Catwoman, where like she toes the line
Maybe.
and has her marches to her own drum, because I also don't see Newt falling for anyone who is completely evil like that. I don't think he has it in his little Hufflepuff heart.
That's why I don't think she's evil. I think it's almost like she succumbs to it. Or maybe Sirius is the wrong example. Maybe it's more of a Draco where I think in his heart, he's probably a good person, but he kind of succumbs to the bad stuff.
Yeah, but like Draco without the like outward prattiness, you know what
I don't know what she...
I feel like her personality seems to be more like
an outsider,
mysterious, aloof, because that's what they have in common. He's like, nobody talked to either of us except for each other, and but I think hers is like a chosen isolation, whereas his is like because he's awkward.
Right. And
I'm
I guess
really excited
she
to meet
must
her.
be older than Rodolphus, which I'm assuming is her brother, which is Bellatrix's husband. Rodolphus.
So it's not a Bellatrix relation.
No,
because
it's Rodolphus.
It's the husband. I see in my head. I've been thinking she's related to Bellatrix this whole time, and you're right. She's related to.
I'm assuming she's his older sister because Rodolphus is close to the age of Voldemort, and this is all taking place before Voldemort.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much older. I mean, I don't know the exact timeline.
Or it could be Mother.
Maybe
she could be
Mother.
the mom of Rodolphus.
Yeah, that's true. I'm not sure the time for everything because Voldemort is
because then
like
it would be
70
like her
when he
husband's
dies.
name.
Yeah, I don't know, but I think it's Rodolphus's older sister, but I'm not sure, and I don't know if I would think maybe she's from a bad family. Is what I'm assuming.
Oh, I definitely think
but then
she's from
if
a bad
she
family.
is, then why is she like an outsider? If maybe she has some like good in her, I think that there must be with her some inner battle of good and evil.
Definitely think she's a Slytherin.
Yeah,
and I'm really interested in this Hufflepuff Slytherin
Unless
friendship.
She is a Hufflepuff, but her whole family is a Slytherin, kind of like what they explored in Cursed Child, where he's an outsider because he's not a Gryffindor like his whole family.
But the way they set her up, and even the picture they have of her, she seems very, like, I can't explain it. Like, she even looks sneaky, and when Queenie is talking to him, she's like, she's a taker, and you need a giver, which, not saying that all Slytherins are, like, takers, but it seems like a very manipulative kind of uneven relationship, which is a very Slytherin quality.
True. Yeah, I'm interested basically to learn more about her, but that whole giver and taker thing, all I could think of was like sexual innuendos during it. Which I just thought was like a little funny giggle to myself during the movie. But yeah, I'm really interested I'm assuming she's going to be in the next movie because they've hinted at her. And they've already cast her.
They've cast her as like a famous actress, so I don't think they're going to.
And I think Zoe Kravitz will be really good.
Yeah, I really like Zoe Kravitz. I'm excited. Although I'm weirded out by the age difference between Zoe Kravitz and Eddie Redmayne. Like,
is she a lot younger?
Yeah, I think she's a lot younger than him.
Okay. I don't know how old she is. I don't think I've seen her in that much,
and she also could be one of those actors who just looks young. She just plays a lot of teenagers.
Kind of like Zoe Saldana.
Yeah, she just plays like a lot of 16-year-olds. So in my head, I'm like, why have they cast this?
Is she British?
No, she's American.
Oh, okay. So do you think she'll be putting on like a British accent?
I think so, probably.
I just think it's interesting because I think that was a big thing when the Harry Potter movies were coming out, that J.K. Rowling was really serious about it only being British actors. Like, she didn't want American actors doing British accents.
I also think she'll probably get a lot of crap if she doesn't use a lot of American actors for this film franchise.
But this is a British part.
I know. No, it is a British part, but I'm just saying, in my head,
But she used Colin Farrell, who's British, and he was reading an American accent, but then he was really Grindelwald.
Like, I was so confused. Also, I cannot stand when Johnny Depp tries to do a British accent because
he's from Kentucky, everybody.
He always does that weird, specific to him British accent, and if he does that here, I'm gonna be really upset.
He pretends to be from the UK, I think, but he's really from Kentucky.
I'm like, feel like there's a lot of, I am really upset about Johnny Depp in general because of all the things that have come out about his wife and everything. And I don't blame them
I don't.
for casting him because I think it's already been, like, before that trial, they had already filmed everything before that trial had come up. Anyway.
So now, do you have any final notes?
I have, like, little Easter eggs I wanted to
definitely.
talk about. We talked about the Arumpit horn. One of my favorite line sequences, maybe closely seconded by the Hogwarts Hogwash exchange, but was when Mary Sue was like, "Are you a seeker of truth?" And then he's like,
"Who, me?"
He's like, "Actually, I'm more of a chaser, really." And I like cracked up.
Love it.
Like, stop, J.K. Rowling.
I loved it.
Stop.
We didn't really talk about the whole thing with the newspaper.
Yeah,
guy.
that was on my note. That was the last thing.
I feel like he's definitely going to be a villain in the next movies because he's kind of I think going to take up where Mary Sue left off.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to have like a real muggle villain, like this newspaper guy. And they cast
his dad.
He's a famous actor. What's his
name? The dad?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've seen him in a bunch of stuff. I can't.
Oh, Jon Voight.
Yeah.
He is such a good actor that I think they wouldn't just like throw him in there for those 3 lines he had in this first
But I don't
movie.
think he's going to necessarily support his son because he hates his younger sibling.
Oh yeah, no,
But I also think that is a parallel to Newt and his brother because they talk about Newt's brother being a war hero and he's not, and that's pretty much the same as this newspaper siblings.
Yeah,
his brother's like the politician, kind of like very Kennedy-esque, where the older siblings like meant to be president. He dies, and then they're stuck with John Kennedy, who was like less favored by the father. So I think that's a very interesting parallel. But I also think it's a parallel to Newt Scamander and his brother, who. I don't know if his brother died. I wonder if he's going to be a character or not. Newt's brother.
Oh yeah, it made it seem like he was alive.
Yeah, I thought
the way
so
they were
too.
Speaking of him.
Yeah, like he survived and was a warrior. So that would be interesting. And I wonder if that had to do with Newt's isolation in Hogwarts.
Oh, definitely.
So that's interesting. I'd like to see his brother as a character. And I would love for them to actually get along, but I'm afraid that they probably don't.
I'm really worried. It's going to be sad.
I love it when they show, well, I don't like love it, but like when parents favor one sibling, but the siblings are still close.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's been done in other movies, but I like that dynamic because it shows that like the siblings' love is like more powerful than
than that parental.
So I just wonder if he'll be a character, and that will be interesting, I think.
Do you ship Tina and
Newt? No.
Neither do I.
But I also said I didn't really like Tina that much, which also...
I think they're cute, but I don't ship them in-game. And it's also...
Didn't think they had good chemistry.
Yeah, and I also feel like they're paralleled with... Like, I ship them friendship in-game. Like, their relationship reminds me a lot of Hermione and Harry's relationship.
Yeah.
And... From that standpoint, I clearly don't ship it.
I ship him with Zoe Kravitz's character, even though we don't know her. Just his hurt, like, he, like, obviously loves her.
And I know, like, Tina is the in-game, and it makes me upset. But just, like, imagine how, like, great it would be that the ending relationship in this is this, like, in my head, this, like, badass Slytherin, and then, like... Little Newt. I just ship it so much more. And
I love it. Yeah, I'm so
ready
with
to be
you.
disappointed, but I'm really also, I think any child of Zoe Kravitz and Eddie Redmayne would be gorgeous.
Oh my god, obviously. Yeah. I mean, I think the actress that played Tina's very pretty.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But I thought she was kind of boring.
They look like siblings.
Yeah. I just thought she as a person was boring. Her character was boring.
That's all I had to say was shipper questions.
Hogwarts, Hogwarts, Hoggy, Hoggy, Hogwarts, teach us something, please.
Quiz. So since you saw it twice, I'll be asking you some quiz questions because I don't think I would. I had to look up some of these answers.
Oh God.
Just to make sure.
I just, saw them twice. I didn't read the script.
Okay, well, no harm, no foul if you don't get them. All right, so the first question is, What are Credence's two sisters' names?
Modesty and
The older one.
abstinence.
No, it's not abstinence. It's similar to that.
Yeah, it's modesty and virtue.
Chastity.
Chastity.
I know. You were right. You were on the right track.
I knew it was something about like sexuality.
Yeah.
I was like, what is this?
Which, I wanted to bring this up earlier, but I didn't want to spoil the question. But do you think Chastity was like a good person? Because I couldn't tell when he was getting like beaten the second time.
She looks really sad.
I couldn't tell if she was like on Mary Sue's side or if she was on Credence's side.
Wait, which one is Chastity?
The older one.
older one.
The
Yeah,
older-
I think the older one's really upset by it.
That's what I thought too, but it was kind of hard to read her face, which I think she did a good job.
And
but-
I looked her up on IMDb because I was interested in her.
right.
And she has other acting credits, so I'm hoping we see her more. Like
Yeah.
she comes back so that we can
And do you think that Modesty, the younger one, is magical? Because I know she had the wand, but I think it was just a toy.
yeah, I think she's not magical.
Yeah, but I think she is interested,
She's
even though
definitely-
she was singing that
she's-
weird song.
She's interested in the magic, I
Yeah.
think. Which I thought was I think her having the wand and her singing the song was like classic
red
J.K.
herring.
Rowling red herring, but like in a good way.
Good red
A
herring.
good red herring.
Yeah. Okay, so my second question is a little bit harder. So what creatures escaped from the suitcase?
Do I have to name them?
If you can, or just describe, because I had to look up their actual names. So if you can just
Okay.
describe which animals they were.
Well, I'm gonna. I won't be able to get the buzzing blue bee thing. I don't know what that's called.
That is called a billywig.
Billywig.
Check.
The Niffler. Who? Oh, we didn't talk about the creatures.
I know. Well, we're talking about them now.
Yeah.
So Niffler, super
Niffler,
cute, but
super
super
cute.
annoying.
I know. I would never want to deal with the Niffler.
Yeah.
But I thought all the little hijinks were very
Yeah.
cute. And then there's the little monkey sloth dude who also was adorable.
The invisible one.
Yeah, he's called don't tell me. It's like a mystique oh gosh. I'll come back to it. Like, I
Okay,
want to try to
okay.
figure out the name.
But that is one of them. There are 3 more.
The bird snake thing that they catch in the teacup.
Yeah, that's called an Akumi or something like that. Occamy. The serpent. It was kind of like a serpent.
Akami, I don't know what
Yeah.
it is.
I definitely had to look that one up.
No, never mind. I was gonna say the name. What were the other two? I have to think about it. Oh, the Murlap.
Yes, good. I didn't think you'd get that one because that's in the very beginning.
I got it because I remember
The scratch on Jacob. That's what
well, I
scratches
just
my-
remember them saying Murlap, and then I was thinking how they use Murlap in potions in Harry
Murlap
Potter.
essence,
Yeah,
yes.
so
Good. All right, so there's 2 more. Well, no, you got the other one. You just haven't thought of the name.
huh?
The name of the one you already.
Yes, and then the Arump.
Yep, a rumpant.
Um,
Good job. I didn't think you'd get all of
thank
those.
you.
I definitely didn't think you'd get Murlap because he catches that one right away.
Mm-hmm. But that one stood out to me because of
the name.
The name. But
Okay, I'll give you a hint.
no.
Okay,
Give me a hint.
not disguise.
Oh, demiguise.
Yeah,
Oh, I need that hint. I was never gonna get it.
yeah. That was really good. Yeah, I could think of 4 of them. I thought of the Niffler, the Arumpent, the Demiguise, the Serpent, and the Billywig, but I forgot about the Murlap when I was. Oh, so that's 5. But yeah, so that was really good. Those are all my questions.
Thank you. I'm glad that I almost aced that test. I think I got like an 85.
Yeah, I think it was really good. So I think that concludes this special episode of Potter Watch.
Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them.
Stay tuned for our episodes of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone.
Bye. Bum bum ba bum 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 bum.